David Smith drew a global fame he never wanted when his estranged wife Susan drowned their children, Michael and Alex, in Union County in 1990.
Union, South Carolina, hailed as the city of hospitality, brings to you the heart-wrenching tale of Susan Smith. Born on September 26, 1971, this seemingly loving mother of two sons unveiled an act so gruesome that it shook the core foundations of motherhood, love, and family. Upon descending into the heart of darkness, we encounter a chilling tale of emotion, deception, and lies. Susan Smith's story is an incredible encounter that will make you question the purest form of motherly love, from making false accusations to gaining worldwide attention and making a cold-hearted confession. This story is full of thrills. Brace yourself for a grievous tale of a haunted lullaby and shattered innocence. On the night of October 24th, 1994, Susan Smith, a resident of Union, South Carolina, murdered her own two sons by drowning them in a lake. How could a mother, the embodiment of the love of the purest kind, who would give her own life to save her children, do the unthinkable act of taking the lives of two of her kids? What could possibly have been the reason or motive behind this most horrific act? Devastating as it is, Susan Smith's unthinkable act sends a chill down everyone's spine as they imagine a mother in the shape of a cold-blooded killer. And raised in Union, South Carolina, she worked full-time at Conceals and managed a part-time college course load at the University of South Carolina. She had custody of her two toddler sons, Michael Daniel, 3, and Alexander Tyler, 14 months, and had been separated from her estranged husband, David Smith. October 24th, 1994, the unthinkable. Her twisted tale begins with infidelity. Susan Smith had an extramarital affair with her work colleague Tom Findlay. Facing difficulties in her marriage with her husband, David, the couple filed for divorce. A prominent reason for this divorce was Susan's desire to continue her relationship with Tom. On the evening of October 24th, 1994, Susan called Tom, asking him to meet to discuss how David was threatening her with embarrassing information in their divorce proceedings.
I can't do anything but think about it.
Upon meeting Tom, Susan told him that David would accuse her of cheating the IRS and of having an affair with your father. In response to this shocking revelation, Tom Findlay decided to terminate their intimate relationship, stating that our intimate relationship will have to stop forever. This rejection from Tom would end up playing a big role in the events that followed later that night. Distressed and depressed after the rejection, she picked up her kids from the daycare, took them home, fed them, and decided to take them on a long drive, which she later claimed was to the countryside to clear her head. She came across John D. Long Lake, where she parked her car in the middle of the unpaved boat ramp. She contemplated suicide, but then released the emergency brake and softly closed the driver's side door. The car, with her children strapped in their child seats, drifted into John D. Long Lake as she watched it fill with water and submerge into the lake. She then turned away and ran towards a small house, crying and sobbing for help. Upon stumbling onto the residence of a small house, she cried for help, saying, "Please help me. He's got my kids, and he's got my car. A black man has got my kids and my car."
I know right here what the truth is. I can see from their side why they have to do the things they have to do. But the Lord and myself both know the truth. I did not have anything to do with the abduction of my children.
The residents of the house called 911. When the local sheriff Wells reached the house, she told him the story of being carjacked by a black man with a gun in his hand at a traffic signal. According to her, the black man asked her to keep driving until they reached the lake, where he threw her out of the car and drove away with the children inside. A nationwide search started for Susan's car, with the FBI, and South Carolina authorities involved.
I would like to say to whoever has my children that they please bring them home.
Susan's case gained public attention as she appeared on TV, pleading for the return of her sons to whoever had kidnapped them. The investigation? As the investigation began, Susan was under the watchful eye of the FBI, the local police department, and other authorities. At first, Sheriff Wells was not able to detect the inconsistencies in Susan's story. However, her behavior after the incident was indifferent.
Please, as law enforcement, don't shy away, don't feel intimidated by the parents and hinder, the investigation. Please ask those important questions.
As she was more focused on her boyfriend, Tom, visiting her than her sons. Both David and Susan were put through polygraph tests and behavioral analysis. As the test results came out, Susan's response was deemed inconclusive, and her behavioral tests showed deception. She was then further interrogated by the FBI, with a focus on the inconsistencies in her story.
January 27th, that unless action is taken before trial, Susan Smith will not receive a fair trial from this court.
Suspicion of a filial homicide arose. On the 9th day of the intensive investigation and interrogation, Susan finally broke down as she went to meet the local authorities behind a church in Union, South Carolina. She confessed to Sheriff Wells that her car and the children were both at the bottom of John D. Long Lake. She went on to write a confession on the same day, claiming she wanted to commit suicide and take her children with her. She let her car roll down the boat ramp, but stopped. Later on, she got out of the car, rolled it down the ramp, and watched it sink into the lake. Later that evening, the local authorities came out and pressed the charge against her for being involved in the murder of her 2 sons. Charged with the death penalty, Susan Smith's case was taken over by 2 lawyers, Brooke, a death penalty expert, and Clark. The prosecutor claimed that Susan was selfish and her actions were deliberate and planned. Therefore, she deserved the punishment of the death penalty.
Susan Smith has been arrested and will be charged 2 counts of murder in connection with the deaths of her children, Michael 3 and Alexander 14 months.
He argued that Susan wanted to pursue a romantic relationship with her boyfriend, Tom Findlay, and had a disagreement about the kids, as Tom did not want a woman with kids. Hence, her actions to kill her sons were a deliberate attempt to fulfill her desire to be with Tom. Defense lawyers, on the other hand, claimed that Susan was mentally troubled by dating incidents from her childhood and early life. They argued that Susan had a troubled life growing up, with incidents such as sexual abuse, mental health issues, and trauma-related incidents. Hence, she was a troubled woman with a history of mental health problems and a troubled upbringing. Therefore, her actions were not deliberate, and the punishment of the death penalty was unfair. After 2.5 hours of trial, where the prosecutor and the defense argued, witnesses and evidence were presented in front of the jury. The jury decided to remove the death penalty punishment and instead sentence her to life imprisonment, citing her deteriorating mental health problems that defense witnesses had presented. David did not agree with the verdict, and it is not hard to see why. His 2 sons had been killed by their own mother, who was having an affair with a man who did not want to accept her kids. Let us know in the comments, according to you, whether Susan Smith deserved the death penalty or whether the decision of life imprisonment was correct. No matter the outcome, this heart-wrenching tale is spine-chilling, and it makes us question the very foundation of the purest kind of motherly love. Whether Susan Smith meant to kill her children, or if it was her mental health that overtook her in that instant, it is a lesson for us all to learn. A lesson that teaches us that something as pure as motherhood and family can also result in devastation as horrific as this.